What's up everyone and welcome back to another video. Just picking up where we left off with these cylinder heads. I did hear back from Jeremy from Out Front Motorsports, and after he looked at the photos of all the scoring on the camshafts and the cam journals, he has advised me to strip these down. I'm not gonna remove the valves or the retainers or the springs or anything like that, but I am gonna remove the cams and the lifter buckets. The buckets I'll just keep track of which cylinder head they came out of and which side, either the intake or the exhaust, and what their location was, and we'll set those aside. Just because he isn't totally sure if these cylinder head castings are actually going to be savable. So he won't know for sure until he gets them right in front of him. And unfortunately, he did say that we can just take these camshafts out and throw them in the trash. So that's kind of too bad. Sort of what I was expecting though, because they have such bad scoring on them. But yeah, I'm just kind of hoping that the castings are still usable. So we will see. Kind of depends on how much material he would have to take off those journals in order to smooth them out. At least that's what I would imagine. So. I'm not too optimistic about these cylinder heads still being usable. All right, so I just finished packaging up the cylinder heads, dropped them off at UPS. They should be down there to Outfront by the beginning of next week. Today is Friday, so yeah, we should hear something by maybe late next week even. I did look up those cylinder heads, and those particular ones are definitely from a version 7 JDM STI, which did have the big ports. So they're kind of rare, and it would be really cool to be able to run them. I mean, I say they're rare, but they're probably not in Japan. Just here, I think in the States, they're a little bit hard to get a hold of, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I really hope that he can sort something out. I'll keep you guys updated on that. And now I'm gonna jump into working on these fender wells. I have started to scuff this one. I didn't get very far on it, and that's kind of what it's been looking like. A lot of this is just like dirt and grime that's just like caked on there that I wanted to wire wheel off. A lot of the rubberized coating stays behind when I do that with the wire wheel, which I think is okay. I'll show you the other side that I've done a lot more work on at this stage. This is what this one looks like. Definitely put some time into this one. It hasn't taken me too long. I would say this whole thing, getting it to this stage, is maybe a couple hours worth of work. Just sitting here with the different wire wheels and sanding discs and whatnot. I'm considering doing Raptor Liner on these fender wells, but I'm not sure yet. And the reason being is I don't know if you can spray it over the top of this rubberized coating. And to be totally honest with you, I would prefer to be able to do that, because getting all of this stuff off looks like a nightmare. But yeah, but either way, I do have to lay down some primer, because as you can see, there is some spots with some bare metal, and we want to make sure that we treat that first and take care of it with some primer, because you aren't supposed to spray that Raptor Liner over bare metal without primer. So even though you won't really see inside of there, and then especially with the fender liners on, I just want to make sure that it holds up. And there were some pretty big scratches on that stuff with metal exposed, and so I figured we may as well just do it right if we're gonna do it. So hopefully I can get through these fairly quickly. I don't want this to take days and days. I do want it to look nice though, so if it has to take a little longer, then I prefer. It's just kind of the way it goes. good actually. A lot of the undercoating has kind of just flaked right off in this area. It was really thin. That's the thing about this OEM stuff too. It seems to be very inconsistent. I'll get like really thick spots like that strip that was right here, and then other spots will be like super thin. Like I'll barely touch it with the wire wheel and it just peels it right off straight down to the primer. All right guys, so I've been experimenting with some different techniques with trying to get more of this undercoating off. After hitting it with the wire wheel for a bit, I realized that it's way too patchy to not remove all of it. It needs to come off. And I don't necessarily think I need to take it all the way down to bare metal everywhere, but I do need to get down to that primer. And so I tried using this guy. I can't remember what this saw is called. It's like, I call it the cast saw, because check this out. It won't cut you. I'm sure you could make it cut you, but if you just press it lightly on your skin, it won't cut. It's a similar kind of thing that they used for cutting casts. I worked as a critical care nurse for about 11 years, and we used to use these when patients would come back in with a broken limb and they had it casted. This is how we would get them off. It wasn't a Makita, but similar concept. But anyway, check this out. Check out how well this is working. So I've just been like getting it underneath. Look at that. That is definitely working way better. So on the spots where it's kind of leaving a little bit behind, I'll just go back with the wire wheel and it should take it right off. Look at all of that. There it is, guys. So I probably worked on this for another hour, I would say, total. And I'll tell you what, man, this tool definitely is a game changer. I'm pretty sure just using this has cut the prep time in half in these fender wells. So I do definitely think that it's worth taking it down to more of the metal like this. I'm not gonna try to get all the primer off. I just don't think it's necessary. So what I did is I obviously used that cast saw and then went back over it with the wire wheel to get all of the like just all the small chunks of the texture off. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I still need to clean it, so there's a lot of dust just still sitting on the surface. I'm pretty damn stoked to actually be able to get all of that rubberized coating off. I didn't want to at first because I thought it was just gonna take way too long to make it worth doing something like this on a part of the car that you don't even see. Because I decided to use that, which I'm super grateful that I did, it's definitely cut the prep time down by a long shot. Now what I'm gonna do is jump over to this side, and I'm just gonna start going immediately with that cast saw and see how quickly I can kind of like get most of the big chunks off of here. All right guys, so I set a timer for 30 minutes. So this is the amount of work I've been able to get done with that saw after 30 minutes. Pretty much starting fresh too, because I mean, there was that one spot like right here where I had experimented with just sanding it down and using a wire wheel. But I hadn't really gotten any of the rubberized stuff off yet. So pretty much starting from the beginning on this side, and after 30 minutes, I have that much done, which is pretty damn good. This part in here did go a lot faster on the other side. I'm hoping that it'll be the same over here. I think just because it seems like it's just thinner in here. It was really thick over on this side. So yeah, I think probably within like an hour we should have this one completely done and sanded up and all smoothed out. So definitely the way to go if you're gonna do a similar job on your own car. Highly recommend investing in one of those little cast saws. Anyway, I'm gonna keep moving on this and get this fender well all sorted out, get it all scuffed up and smoothed out and ready for primer. The other thing I have decided to do is I am going to pull that short block apart. I don't even know why I was questioning it. After I kind of thought through, if the camshafts being scored and damaged the way that they were caused by bearing material not being properly cleaned out of the oil passages in those cylinder heads, it for sure circulated through the engine as well. And so it's quite possible that there is some more of that debris inside the short block, and we got to get that stuff out of there. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to open it up. We're going to pull all the internals out. I have a machinist straight edge that I ordered, so I'm going to check the surfaces, make sure they all are within spec as far as like flatness goes. And as long as they are, and I don't feel like the case needs to be like decked again, I'm just going to send it over to a local machine shop and have them hot tank it and clean it professionally. And then we will probably replace the bearings. I'm not sure if I should replace the piston rings or not. Depends on the condition that they look like they're in when I pull them out. But I'll probably just keep track of everything and put it all back in the same cylinder sleeve that it came out of. Obviously, we will check all of our clearances and do all of that stuff the proper way according to the factory service manual. All right, guys, so I have jumped back over to the other side. I just want to take a break from the wire wheel, and I have this side all masked off, and I have already prepped the surface. I hit it again with a red Scotch-Brite pad just to get all of the hard to reach areas and all the little contours and stuff. I have decided that I am going to use Raptor Liner, and the reason why, other than the fact that it is actually a really high quality product, you can actually brush that stuff on or roll it on, I guess. And so I went to the local auto parts store because it's the only place that had it around me for a good price, and they had the whole kit with the roller and everything. So I picked that up, and I want to roll it on because it's going to take me way less time for like masking and whatnot. If I have to spray it, I'm going to have to mask like so much more of the car. Whereas like if I can roll it on, I'm going to really be able to control it, and it's going to go on only where I want it to, and we're not going to get any overspray. So I can get this job done much quicker, and I imagine that it'll look the same. We need to lay down some primer because there's so much bare metal. So I grabbed this. This is a, it's like an anti-rust acid etching primer for bare metal. Same company, U-Paul, that makes the Raptor Liner right there. So we're going to throw some primer down on this side now that I have it all prepped. And then once that's kind of curing, I'll jump back to the other side. I'll finish wire wheeling that, get that side all prepped, come back over, put another coat on, etc. Hopefully we'll have this all primed up here in no time. That other side, it's getting really close with the wire wheel. I still probably have maybe 20 minutes or so of work over there. And then we can get it all cleaned up and start scuffing it with the Scotch-Brite and mask that off as well. So 2 coats later, and we're all primed up over here. It's been a good half hour, and the primer's all dry, nice and dry to the touch. So now I am just cleaning it a second time with some isopropyl alcohol, and just getting it really clean. And then I'm actually just going to start laying down the Raptor Liner. So they really do make this stuff easy to use. ounces of this. Dump her in. Then we shake it for at least 2 minutes. Alright guys, so after several coats on both sides, this Raptor Liner is all laid down. I am going to try to unmask it now while it's still maybe a little wet. I don't know if it takes the stick. Kind of had a mishap there at the end. I went to shake the bottle to make sure it was all mixed up well, and I had forgotten that I didn't screw the lid on completely. I don't know why I did that. It's really stupid of me. And Raptor Liner went flying all over the garage. So that was fun. Yeah, it's getting pretty late here in the shop. I am going to wrap it up for today. Catch up with you guys in the morning, give you an update on what this is looking like after it's all cured, and then we will open this bad boy up. All right guys, so it is the next morning and stuff is all hardened up. Looks really nice. Pretty impressed with it, to be honest. It's nice and hard. It doesn't feel as like rubbery as like rubberized undercoating, which makes sense. It's definitely more like bed liner. Yeah, it's it honestly went on pretty even. There's not like spots where it seems like it's much like thicker than other spots. So yeah, I would say the advantage of spraying it is that it would be easier to get it more consistent, like up in these areas where it's kind of hard to reach and like get the roller on there. But and like these, if you look in this little spot right there behind this welded bolt, there's like, you can just see some primer. If you sprayed it on, you wouldn't have any of that, but I'm really not worried about it. I just wanted to get a protective coating down so that we wouldn't have any rust issues because there was so much bare metal exposed. Yeah, I'm glad that that's done. The thing about it though, is you're never gonna see any of this, especially like the Fender liner fits in here and covers a lot of this. You don't really see much of it at all, so trying to make it look perfect is sort of silly, in my opinion. And honestly, I think for me personally, the advantages of rolling it on really outweighed spraying it, just because I do think overall it took me less time to get it all done. For those front two fenders, I would say start to finish, pulling all the old material off, sanding it, masking it, priming it, and then laying down the coating. It's probably like a full day of work. Probably, I bet like I have like 8 hours into that, so it's not bad. I mean, it's a bit time consuming for what it is, I guess, but to prevent some rust from happening on the car and make sure that it's sealed up nice and that it's protected from like road debris and rocks and stuff, I'll put in a full day of work. Not really too bothered by that. So the rears, I imagine, will probably take a similar amount of time. I'll do the same on those. With that all done and out of the way, I am ready to open up the short block. So one thing I did already do with this is I had pulled this pan off before because I kind of wanted to look inside of this thing after we had pulled the heads off. And I already removed the windage tray and baffle. This had an upgraded set from IAG as well as the IAG oil pickup. So that stuff's already been removed, so don't be alarmed when I pull this off. I took those pieces off. So I'm going to save these head studs as well. Apparently you can reuse these ARPs. These are ARP 2000s. Probably a little bit overkill for what we're gonna be doing on this engine, but saves us a little bit of money. All right, so I finally figured out what the hell's going on with this thing. I was so confused. Get this off here. All right, so whoever machined this block, they sealed the thing in this really weird way. And I was so confused, man. Like, I thought I had forgotten how to pull one of these apart or something. I couldn't get the wrist pins out. And it didn't make any sense. I couldn't see the wrist pin from like the opposite side, because normally I push them from the opposite side. And normally through these holes right here where you pull the wrist pin clips, this hole and then the other hole on the other side, if you look through, you can see through the block to the other side. For some reason, the guy that machined this sealed the whole thing. I don't know if that's just what happens when you sleeve a block, but I had to pull the wrist pins out. So I had to stick a bolt down in there with pliers and then like hook the wrist pin and pull it out. Finally, got all of the damn wrist pins out. So all right, so I got everything laid out here. So this is what the bearings look like. They're not too bad, actually. I was kind of expecting them to be worse. There's some like signs of like wear, but I don't know that it's necessarily excessive or anything. The piston skirts also have some wear marks like that. Almost all of them have a little bit of that, but I don't know that that's like out of the ordinary either. The rings look fine. The crank over here also, it looks like it's in really good shape. I'm pretty sure this is one of the nitrided cranks, like the STI nitrided one, but not totally sure. It looks freaking new still, man. He's got manly rods. There's a little play in each one, but I think it's all very similar, and I don't think that that's unusual either. Yeah, I mean, nothing too suspect. I think as long as this block is nice and flat still, we should be good after we get it all hot tanked again. I found something very suspect in the oil pan down in there. So they put in this Gretty magnetic plug, and for whatever reason, they decided to cut that down, and it doesn't look clean at all to me. And I found a little piece of metal sitting in the oil pan, like a pretty good sized chunk. Oh, there it is. Check this out. That piece of metal. I don't know what it could be from, but it's definitely metal. Because it's black, it made me start thinking like, oh, it must be from a piece in there that they cut off when they did that nice job. You can see right there. Everything about this thing is just more and more suspect the deeper I get into it. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is a standard EJ205. See how that sleeve has a hole in it back here? Right back there? And then right there. So that is how you push the wrist pins out. Like basically if I pull the retainer pin out of this side first, then I can come over here and I can stick like a long rod through the block and push it out rather than having to pull it through like I did. As you can see, there's no hole to pass anything through. There's just the outside holes. So yeah, I had to stick a bolt in there with pliers, hook the flange of the bolt on the back side of the wrist pin and pull it out. But anyway, I am glad that it's done. I'm gonna throw all these bearings away, all the main bearings, the crankshaft bearings, all the bearings for the rods as well. We'll just replace all that stuff. We'll have to measure all the clearances again. I'm debating replacing all the piston rings too, but I don't know if that's smart to do because they have had a chance to kind of like bed themselves into the sleeves that they came out of. And I kept track of which piston went where, so I can just put it back in the same sleeve. I don't know, maybe I'll pull the rings off and just kind of inspect them all and see. But I would imagine it shouldn't matter too much. There's still like a good amount of like cross hatching on these cylinder walls. They look really good as far as I can tell. You know, it's funny because I have always wanted to build my own short block. But I didn't expect that it would be under such weird circumstances. But I am still pretty excited to get to dive in and do this. I just hope that I have the ability to do it correctly at this stage with everything that's kind of happened with this. That doesn't seem to be the norm, I guess. So anyway, that's all I got for this video, guys. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. I guess what I have to do next is we're gonna check the surfaces on these case halves with a machinist straight edge, make sure that they are within spec. And as long as they are, the only thing we'll have to do is just get this thing professionally cleaned and it'll look brand new when it comes back, which will be cool. We're gonna set all the other engine internals aside, and when we get this back, then we can order some tools. I am gonna need to get some tools in order to measure all of our clearances. So it's gonna be like a little bit of an investment there, but at least I will have them for future builds. And I've been looking for an excuse to pick some up anyhow, so this is kind of a perfect time. Rear fender wells I need to take care of and put the Raptor Liner on those. And then I also need to fix all of these pinch welds under here because they are pretty bent out of shape. So those are kind of what's next on the agenda. In addition to that, I'm gonna drop the gas tank. We're gonna delete the charcoal canister, and I gotta clean up the undercarriage of the car and just get it nice and cleaned up. I'm gonna check to see if there's any spots under there that we need to kind of fix. And I have been debating putting the Raptor Liner on the undercarriage, but it could be like a really big job and I'm not sure if I wanna go that route yet. I definitely don't wanna have to strip all of the rubberized undercoating off in order to do that underneath, so I would have to figure out whether or not we can spray that over it, which it seems like it would, man. I mean, you can spray that stuff on all sorts of surfaces, even wood, apparently. That's all I got for this one, guys. And I'll catch you guys in the next few days. Peace out, everyone.